Computer. Okay, we are recording. Tristan, how are you today?
I'm excellent. Thank you for asking. How are you, Stu?
I'm good. I'm good. So is it quite early for you? Because you're in New York, right?
Yeah, it's 7 here.
Wow. Well, you're looking good for 7 a.m. Like, I generally look like an absolute bag of garbage at 7 a.m.
Oh my gosh.
You're looking good.
Thank you.
Right. Okay. So let's just jump straight in and
Sure.
kick off your playlist. And I want you to tell me, please, the song that you regard as having the greatest ever intro.
Yeah, for me, hands down, it's I'm Coming Out by Diana Ross. And I have to mention Chic, because what is that song without that Nile Rodgers opening lick, right? I was actually listening to that song on the way here. It was just like, was tired and just like trying to get the day started. And as soon as that intro starts, I'm just like, yes, like I'm in the club. I'm ready to go. I'm empowered. It's so strong. And you know, as soon as you hear the intro, like as soon as you hear the first couple notes of that song, you know what you're listening to.
Yeah. I think Nile Rodgers was, I mean, we don't even need to have a discussion about how clever Nile Rodgers is. It's a given that, you know, the guy's an absolute legend. But specifically on this song, and he does it quite a lot, is he just kicks off with just that guitar lick. And it's such a Nile Rodgers sound. Straight away, you just go, well, that's Nile Rodgers. Of course it is.
Exactly. Yep.
But it comes in exactly the same time as Dinah's vocal. And it's just that the minute you hear, I'm not going to sing it because that would be very embarrassing. but the minute you hear like Dinah's voice, and it comes in exactly the same time as that kind of guitar lick of Nile Rodgers, and then you have to wait. You just get that intro, which is so hooky, but you're just waiting for the bass line to drop as well, and the drums
exactly.
And
that
then
drum,
it's just like you're just into pure disco mania then, and you're in Nile
exactly. Exactly. It's that drum, like obviously that intro guitar and the vocals are beautiful, but just like the as soon as it comes to that moment, it's like, yes, we're in it. We're in it. It's beautiful.
Absolutely. So what I'm interested in, and let's talk about Dakota Jones and the way that you approach music, because you've been about for a few years, and what we're seeing, I guess, more so in the last sort of couple of years is literally every part of music has moved over to streaming services now, and it is in such a fast-paced world we live in now, where attention spans are getting shorter. How much of that filters through into your creative process? And what I mean by that, Tristan, is like, are you aware that, right, look, we need to do a Nile on this, we need to grab them instantly, because these thumbs are moving so quick nowadays. Like, are they going to wait for the drop? Or have we got to get them straight away? Or is it like, no, do you know what, fuck that, we're about the art, and like, and our songs will be what they will be. Like, tell me, like, if any of them kind of changes in technology and attention spans filter through into your creative process. Do you know what, Tristan? I've asked this question 471 times, and I've never once framed it right. I never quite
I hear you.
Do you know where I'm going with it?
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that we're very much aware of the changes that are happening and of people's attention spans, and we're very much aware that, you know, a lot of the big hits of the moment are like 3 minutes tops or whatever the case may be. But that's not something that we let sink in while we're making music. We can't go into a studio or into a creative space and say, like, what I always say is I try to create for the audience that's in my head, as opposed to creating specifically for what other people want, because I don't think it's going to be genuine music if you're creating for someone else. It's not going to be from my heart, from our hearts. So there'll be times where we'll stumble into a song and it just feels right for it to cut out early, for it to end early, for us to get in and out kind of procedurally. But it's not something that we're, you know, losing our heads over trying to make something that is going to fit into a mold of what's hot right now or whatever. We just kind of follow our hearts as best we can, because I think that's what making music is about, is just trying to express yourself and how you feel in the moment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's all about balance, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Like of course, you have to be aware of the way that the industry is working and the way that people are consuming things. But at the end of the day, if we're making music for people other than like what feels good to our guts, then what are we really doing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm going to take you back for track 2, and I want you to tell me,
Okay.
please, the first song that you remember hearing that had emotional impact on you, please.
Okay. So this brings me back to being on a school bus. It was probably, I don't know the year. I know that I was a freshman in high school. So I guess that was 2005. And we had a substitute bus driver that day who happened to be playing the radio and was playing like a classic rock station. And he clicked over to it, and I heard this beautiful guitar, and I heard someone say, "Speak to me only with your eyes." And that line struck my, oh my God, it struck my core. And I like stood up on my bus seat and I said, "What is this?" And some random person in the back was like, "This is Zeppelin." And I said, "Okay, what's this song called?" It was the Rain song.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful that there was a Zeppelin fan on the bus that could tell me in that very moment what that song was, because from that moment I've been possessed by that song. But that started my love affair with Zeppelin. And yeah, it was just, the way that the music sounds on that track and the way that Robert Plant is singing is just intoxicating to me.
Yeah.
And just so beautiful. And it's one of the very few like pure love songs that they have. Oh my gosh, and it just speaks to my soul every time I hear it. It brings me right back every time I hear it.
Wonderful, wonderful. I'm going to ask you a question about that, but before I
Yeah.
do anything, the aircon's just kicked in this room, so I need to turn
Okay.
it off because it's quite
Okay.
noisy. 2 seconds.
Sure.
Okay, there we go. We're back.
Cool.
So
Cool.
the one thing I wanted to ask you is if you could pinpoint what the emotion was when you heard that.
I think in that moment, it was just, for me, a heartbreak. And that is obviously the opposite of what he's talking about. But for me, it was like, where is my person that is going to be singing "Speak to me only with your eyes" to me? And of course, I was a child, and it was like, that was a long ways away. But it was just those words, "Speak to me only with your eyes." It was just, felt like pure love and pure emotion. And I was just stunned.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about you and an emotion. If you're feeling sad, you're having a blue day, do you reach for Nile Rodgers and just get your disco on, or are you like, give me some samba? I need to,
Yeah.
I need to wallow and embrace this mood, and I want to soundtrack it with some real heart-wrenching music. What do you go for?
I'm definitely the type of person that I want to feel my emotions. I want to
Yeah.
experience them as they come. And I'm very guilty of, when I'm feeling sad, I do not turn to happy music. I want to just really feel that sadness as deeply as possible. I'll put on, I don't even know, like just the sappy, not sappy, but yeah, just the music that's made for you to kind of wallow in that emotion, really just feel it. I turn to my sad songs, my sad girls and folks, and just sit in it. I don't like to sit in it for too long, but I do like to respect the emotion and just feel it for a bit.
Pick up a pen at that point.
A lot of the time, yes. Most of the time. That's honestly where for better or worse, I think that I write often from a place of pain more so than a place of joy. And the music itself, like the instrumentation behind those feelings, might not be sad. It might be a joyous sounding song with kind of more thoughtful, somber lyrics.
Yeah.
But I always find it easier to write from that place.
Yeah. So you're in New York at the moment. Where was growing up?
New Jersey, right next door.
Right. How was that? Fond memories?
Ah, I mean, I had a great family, and oftentimes a nice childhood. I just was a moody kind of emotional, sad child a lot of the time. So it's kind of painted with those colors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so was home a musical place? Like, would your folks have music on around the house?
Always. Yeah. Neither of my parents are musicians, but my mom, I always consider my mom, she doesn't consider herself a singer. I think she has a great voice, and I always loved to hear her sing. But there was always something soundtracking what we were doing: car rides, cleaning the house on Sundays, cooking. Yeah, there was always music on. That's a big part of my childhood.
What sort of stuff can you recall?
Luther Vandross, Marvin Gaye, Shaka Khan.
I
Like
mean,
a lot of
that's a good introduction to music
yeah,
there, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, just the great voices, like soul R&B voices, are what I grew up really loving. And of course, a lot of contemporary R&B on the radio at the time. Tony Braxton was a big one of my great loves as a kid. And it was just those rich, deep, soulful voices that I was really drawn to and wanted to emulate.
I like a lot of people, was sad to hear about the passing of Burt Bacharach this week. It was an absolute songwriting genius, and I was just sort of wallowing in the magic of his music, and I went and it was a song that I grew up listening to, and it's Luther Vandross's cover, or his version of A House Is Not a Home.
My God, yeah.
Fucking hell, that record, man. It's
unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I'm so glad you know it, because it is like, it's epic. It's obviously, it's a very long version.
Right.
And I would recommend that anybody puts that in YouTube. And I think the first version was made for Dion Warwick.
Yes, it was.
And there's an incredible video of Luther singing it.
To Dion, right?
Dion, yeah.
Yep, and amazing.
I'm glad you've seen that. It's so good, isn't it?
I've seen it too many times, because it's just the vocal acrobatics that he's doing, the feeling in his eyes and in his voice, and even like when the camera pans to Dion and she's just like eating it up, and it's unreal what he was able to do on a stage and just with his voice. It's like nobody else.
And the thing is, like, it looked effortless.
Yep. Yeah.
Didn't even close his eyes. He's just got this.
Right.
Yeah, it's. I'm so glad you're familiar with that, because it's, and for anybody that's not checked that, I would recommend. There's been multiple versions of that song, but for me, Luther Vandross's version of that is sublime.
Sublime is the word, truly.
Absolutely. Right. Well, look, you mentioned the school bus. Let's talk school. Tell me about the song that reminds you of your time at school, Tristan.
Okay, it has to be "Misery Business" by Paramore, which is like such a funny. So it brings you back to such a funny like time of just being peak teenage angst and like just the kind of emo band moment that we were having at that moment. And for me, it was that song came out, I think, a little bit before I got my license, but by the time I had my license, that whole record was out. And we would just go up and down the Garden State Parkway, nonstop listening to this album, and just, Misery Business was just, you could just like bang your head against the wall and just like jam out. It's such an intense, and they were kids too. They were teenagers while writing that song. So that real, just like teenage anger and pain and just like burst through that song. And I think that Hayley Williams is an incredibly gifted vocalist.
Yeah.
Like still to this day, she's one of the greatest live vocalists that I've seen live. But yeah, that song is just peak teen angst.
It's pure emo rock, but
Yeah,
as with, you know, Hard Times and other stuff that they've done, it's real smart pop as well,
right.
because it's so hooky and so catchy,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Tell me about school. How was that?
I went to high school in Wall, New Jersey. It was a specialized school for communication. So it was like film and journalism and TV and radio and things like that. So we were all there for a specific purpose. And I don't know, it was fine. I grew up as a young Black girl surrounded by like a sea of white teenagers. And it was, I just always felt like the odd man out, no matter what. And yeah, I mean, it was tough in that way, not seeing yourself reflected anywhere, not feeling that you had that like true connection with anyone, or like shared background with anyone. And I think that made me quite emotional a lot of the time.
How did that affect you then? Did that affect, like, did it just affect the study side of things as well, like academic?
No, I mean, academically, I was always totally on top of things,
Yeah.
without having to try very hard. But just socially, I was very awkward and uncomfortable all of the time. And I had a group, like a small group of people that I was close to, but it just never, I just always felt on the outskirts of things. And it was just kind of, I just felt sad as a teenager, you know, like I had a lot of good times and fun, but there was just a sadness beneath all of it. And I think that wasn't really healed until I got to college and met a group of people that had that same experience of being a Black person growing up in a very white suburb, and feeling just totally outcast, and feeling like, because you in that space, you kind of grow up feeling like you have to look like and be like someone else. So it wasn't until I got a little bit older that I realized that being who I was pretty fucking cool in and of itself, you know?
Yeah. But that, I guess I find that with so many conversations that I have, and it's definitely the case for myself as well, that throughout school, it's generally tough, isn't it? It's just trying to find, because you don't really know who you are.
Right.
And you said something then about when you got to college, you met like-minded people that had similar experiences. And for me, and so many people I've spoke to, when you get to college, you're there because you choose to go there.
Right.
And that's when you find your tribe. And I've said this to my daughters, like when they were having tough times at school, I was like, when you get to college, you'll find your tribe and it will all be all right. And sometimes those cool kids at school, yeah, they're cool at school, but when you're on the peripheries and you're uncool and you're nerdy and whatever, they're the ones that have the most interesting lives in 5 years' time. They'll do something really fucking cool. Right. And the cool kids won't. And that's just my perception. But
yeah, man, I mean, I think that you're right. And I think a lot of that is because you are, at least for me, I'll speak for myself, but I think it relates to a lot of other folks, that when you are on the outskirts of things and and you need an outlet and you have pain, and you find, I think, for me, I found more creative ways to kind of focus my feelings, and more creative ways to, you have to find an outlet in order to kind of survive those moments. And that drove me to, you know, making music and singing. And that was the place where I found peace, and the place that I found acceptance within myself. And yeah, so there are usually cool things that come out of those big emotions.
I'm going to pick back up on what you just said, Dan. I want to talk about early shows, and I want to talk to you about confidence in a moment. But first of all, I'm going to ask you to tell me the first record you remember buying from a record store.
So for me, it was a tape. It was a tape.
Shout out the cassette tapes.
Yes, and it was a tape by Brandy. that I was like desperate for. I was big into Brandy had like a lock on just on music, on TV. She had her show Moesha, and she was, a young Black girl that I could look up to. And she came out with this song called "The Boy Is Mine" featuring Monica. That was just, I don't know why. I was so young. I was probably 7 or 8. And that song just was like, yes, this is my, and I didn't have any boy that I was like fighting with some other child about, but it was just, in that moment, I felt her emotions and I felt everything that she was going through. And I was like, yes, that boy is mine. And like, that song is just some amazing classic R&B to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Production on that record's phenomenal.
Yeah. And those two women are just amazing. They have such incredible voices. Brandy, especially for me, is just, she has a tone that is unlike anybody else. Yeah.
Let's talk voices. Tell me when you realized you had a voice.
So I think that it took quite I sang always. I sang for as long as I can remember. My mom says that I was singing before I was talking, yada, 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 one of those. But I shared a room with my big sister growing up, and I would sing all of the time. And she would come out of nowhere. I would think I would just be singing to myself in the room. She'd appear like banging on the wall, telling me to shut up. And I thought for years that I just had a terrible voice. Like I thought that she just wanted me to stop because I sounded bad. Yeah. But I would continue to sing because it just always felt good to me. And then there were like moments here that I would sing for the church choir. And I remember one moment we were all practicing a chorus or something and everybody stopped, but I kept going. And in that moment, the choir director was like, "Oh, look at you." And like, look at how she sounds. And I think that was the first moment that I was like, maybe I do have a little something. And then I'd get like, I was very shy about it. So the compliments that I would get about singing would only be from people that like caught me in the act of doing something that I was trying to do in secret. But yeah, I wasn't really aware for a little while because of the torment of my sister. Yeah.
She just probably wanted to go to sleep. She's got you shouting next door.
I know.
So tell me, Tristan, when did the shyness subside a little and the confidence grow? I presume it's grown. Yeah. To allow you to do what most people would find the most terrifying thing ever, which is to walk on stage, grab a microphone, and sing in front of a crowd, which obviously you've done for, a fair while now. So tell me about those early shows and your relationship with confidence.
Yeah. So the first show that we ever played was at a place called the Delancey in Manhattan. And it felt like the scariest thing that I've ever done. And I was shaking through the first few songs. Even just practices with the band leading up to that show. And when we were first like figuring out our sound and what we wanted to do, even just singing in front of them in our little practice space was terrifying to me, because it was just, my voice is the thing, or I just care so much about music and about my voice, and it's my greatest passion. And I think for that reason, because I cared so much, it made it my biggest fear, and I was just utterly terrified. But once we started making music together, I realized that was exactly what we were supposed to be doing. And it felt like I didn't really have a choice in the matter of like whether or not it felt like something that needed to be shared. Yeah. So I just kind of, for those first many shows, you just have to kind of buck up and get on stage and just do it, because I felt so drawn to, I mean, singing is everything to me. Singing is my heart, and to be able to share that is a gift that I don't take for granted, for sure. But yeah, it just feels like something that I have to do. So you just have to kind of feel that fear and do it anyway, and just get up there. And now it's a bit easier to to just get on stage and do it. But I'm still, before shows, still, we had a show last Saturday and I'm still like sick to my stomach before I get on stage.
Really?
Yeah, for sure. But I just know that once I get up there and once we play those first couple of notes, it melts away now into something else. And I just become a totally different person on stage.
Yeah. Have you got a little routine before you walk out on stage?
Try not to throw up.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Never stop doing that.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Well, look, I mean, I'm interested to know about the next question, because you're in New York and, you know, in the UK, we spoke about Nile Rodgers earlier, but, you know, we're so aware of like the garage, and we're so aware of Studio 54 and New York being, you know, the home of the club kids and so many exciting things. And so tell me a little bit about your times clubbing, and let's start that off by telling me the song that soundtracked your years clubbing. I mean, you're young, Kristen, you're still clubbing. I hope so.
My clubbing days are just right behind me. For me, when I think about that, I think about being in college. I went to NYU, so I was in the city, in the heart of the city. And this was when Lady Gaga was coming up. And Poker Face was out, Just Dance was out, but something changed, I think, for her, and something changed for the music industry when Bad Romance came out. That was such a defining moment of her career and of just music at large. And Bad Romance was everywhere. And it was not just a great club song. It was an incredible, vulnerable vocal performance and just a weird song, it's a now kind of like a classic club song. And I hear it in gay bars all the time still, but it was not what music sounded like. It was a weird song when it came out to me. Music was not sounding the way that Lady Gaga was making music. She was something totally, and then the music kind of shifted to kind of sound like what she was making because of the success of what she was doing. But Bad Romance was just oof. So it was you can dance to it, but it's also just a kind of a heartbreaking song. But like incredible song. Just those gut-wrenching feelings of just, I think about her screaming, "I don't want to be friends." And I felt that so hard. I still feel it now, even being in a loving relationship now. You felt every word of that song, and you could just dance your heart out to that song with those feelings. Just amazing.
And it is a weird song. The rah, 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 like them bits. It's like, that's quite unconventional in a pop song. Right. And so I'm interested to, that record label must have had so much confidence in just how incredible she is. Yeah. And, you know, the visual art of Gaga, as much as the vocal delivery, the whole thing was for me, being, you know, almost 50, it was like when I first saw Madonna perform Like a Virgin and Lucky Star, and it was like, who's this girl out of New York making this insane pop music that looks like something completely new? And that was what I got, you know, from seeing Lady Gaga, and it was, and I completely agree. Just Dance and Poker Face are great records, but Bad Romance is the one that I think just took it stratospheric. And
absolutely.
And it's phenomenal. And that, you know, at the time I would have probably been like 44, and it was having that effect on me. So the thought of what that must be like to like a 13, 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old kid, it must just be incredible. It must be that level of excitement that I got seeing Michael Jackson and Prince and Madonna in the early 80s, which was, you know, it was like these people have been beamed down from outer space.
Exactly. Yeah. And just seeing someone be able to be unabashedly, completely, wildly themselves and just totally do their own thing. Just feel, especially as a teenager or like someone in your young 20s, just feels so good to feel like, I can be weird as shit and I can do I can really do me and be myself, and you know, to hell with whoever doesn't get with it. Like I'm with it, and this is me, and this is my weird stuff. And yeah, it just it was such an exciting moment. It was such an exciting moment.
Okay, well look, let's stay at home, because I want you to tell me for track 6 your favorite song from your home county.
Yeah. So that, for me, immediately my mind goes to Lauryn Hill. She's a girl from Newark, and I grew up in a place called Matawan in New Jersey, but where I would spend all of my weekends with my grandparents and with my dad was like Maplewood, which is pretty close to Newark. And my uncle actually used to babysit Lauryn Hill, and she was just always like she has it for me like a stronghold when I think of New Jersey and just growing up there. And I just feel, for whatever, I feel that connection to her. And she is, I mean, what can I even say about the voice, the lyrics, the style, just like the feeling that she brings to everything, to me is so powerful and so vulnerable and so strong. And I remember just listening to the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill as a kid, and I just wanted to do what she was doing, and it was just so cool because it was all over the place. It was not just beautiful vocals. She's a brilliant rapper, and the music behind her was so powerful. And so the song that I was thinking of is "Do Up That Thing" from the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, which she produced.
What's that record?
Oh my God, that unbelievable. And from front,
it's them horns. Ba, ba, ba. It's just
my God.
You want to dance straight away. You got to dance.
Yeah, and then you're dancing and feeling this thing, but it's this like powerful story of like, you know, what she's talking about is not fun, but you're still like in the vibe and dancing to that track, and it's just, she's like a magician to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just masterful. Yeah.
Just the rhymes and all. You watch her performances in like Sister Act when she was a kid, and you just think, all right, there's a little star there. And obviously, you know, people talk about, you know, and rightly so, like, you know, Lauryn Hill was a superstar, but the Fugees were huge, like huge global band and it's like, okay, so she's gonna go and do something away from them now. Oh dear, is this gonna be a really bad move? And she drops the Miseducation, which is one of the greatest, if not greatest, R&B soul records ever made. Just to step away from being at the time in the biggest band in the world to doing something as ambitious as that record was brave, and it delivers in every possible way. Absolutely.
And one of my favorite things about her is just her ability to kind of, it feels like she's always going with her gut and following her heart in everything that she's doing, including stepping away from the spotlight, including, you know, taking a break from music or whatever she's doing. She's just kind of going with her gut and what her spirit is telling her to do. And it has led her to some incredibly powerful, beautiful places, especially that record, that whole record. But Do Up That Thing is like one of my highlights from that record for sure. It feels like nothing else. And you're right, it's those horns, like just the way that it gets in you, that song.
I'm glad you referenced her rapping, because it is so easy just to go, oh, she's got such a beautiful voice. But she's badass at rapping.
She has bars. She's amazing. Yeah.
Well, I spoke about your confidence and your relationship with that, and how that started to grow. And we're going to talk about, we've got one more track. Before that, I want to sort of talk about something that always for me runs alongside confidence. And you've chose a ridiculously competitive and top industry to pursue. Tell me about how driven you are and your relationship with drive.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely drive and a passion to, make music my everyday, to make it, to be able to create a world that's driven by music for me, to be able to tour all the time, to be able to create whenever I want, so there's that, but there's also just kind of I have a feeling in my gut that singing and making music is the thing that I was born to do, whether or not that's a crazy thing. I just, that's the feeling that I have, is that this is not really a choice for me. Like it's my greatest love and my greatest fear and my greatest passion. And I just feel like I have to do it. I don't feel that I have a choice. So that's kind of what keeps me going. And I think what keeps the band going is just like, we got to do it. It's just in us to do it,
That's a really beautiful thing you just said there, Tristan. And I find, and I'm taking nothing away from people that work in banks, people that work in factories, people that do whatever they do. But do any of those people ever get up in the morning and think, everything you're saying to me, I felt it from a very young age, that this is what I'm meant to be doing, for better or for worse. This is what I've been put here to do. Probably not.
Yeah.
And so I think when you've got that feeling, and that feeling's, telling you to pursue your voice and music, then that's a powerful thing. If that's overriding, anything else, that's what I'm here to do. You've got to do it, right?
Yeah, I have to. I think that what you said is right. It overrides everything. Like as important as anything else could be to me, making music and playing with the band and just singing, even singing when I'm alone, like it just feels bigger to me than everything else. It like lights me up in a way that nothing else does. There'll be sometimes I'll be in a bad mood, and then I'll just start, like a song will just come to me and I'll just let it out when I'm alone or wherever I may be. And then I realize, I haven't sung out loud in a couple of days. And that's why I feel like this. Like it's just, it's everything to me. It's my love, my deepest love. And for that reason, I have to attack it with everything I have, right? Just go after it with everything I have.
Absolutely. I'm now picturing you having a really angry day and just screaming misery business at the top of your voice, and your sister the other side of the wall just thinking, shut up.
Yes.
All right, well, look, for the last track, Tristan, I'm going to ask you to be a tastemaker or influencer or whatever you want to call it. And this is an opportunity for you to tell the listeners of this podcast about a song that you think they may not know that you would like them to hear.
Okay. So there's a little song called Plastic by Moses Sumney.
I'm just going to stop you there, right? It's not little.
Right. Thank you. As soon as I said that, I was like, it is not a little, it's secretly, it pretends to be small when you meet it, but it is not a little song at all. You're right. I was introduced to this song called Plastic by Moses Sumney by a friend of mine in college, who I think we understood each other on a very specific level. Like we weren't best friends, but we just kind of got each other.
Yeah.
And I was going through a hard time, and out of the blue, he just sent me this song, Plastic, and I listened to it, and it opens with Moses singing, "I know what it is to be broken and be bold." And from that second, I was like, oh shit, what is this? And he continues on, just it's kind of quiet. He has a very special voice, I think, Moses Sumney, but it kind of starts off quiet and grows into this big, beautiful, powerful, just kind of vamp on on My Wings Are Made of Plastic at the end of that song. And the song fills out as it goes. And it's just, I don't know, it sounds like heaven to me.
Yeah.
You know, it's like nothing else. I had never heard something like that. And I still haven't. And I'm talking about the original recording that Moses Sumney had on his EP. When he released his album, his first album, he put plastic on it, but it had a different instrumentation, and it was kind of, it had changed.
Yeah.
But the first recording of the song is so deep to me, and so I don't even know what the word. It's just raw in a way. It's like he rips open his chest, and you can just see his heart beating, and God, it is one of my favorite songs of all time. And I play it for people that I'm close to, just when it comes to me, like because I found that not that many people know that song, or at least people around me, not that many people really know that song. And so there'll be those special moments of like, just sit down and just be quiet and listen to this and just feel this for a second. And it gives everybody just a moment, you know?
Absolutely. Well, we can make a lot more people share that moment, because we put together a little Spotify playlist to accompany the podcast with
amazing.
All of the tracks that we've spoke about today. And of course, we had Dakota Jones music to that. So with that in mind, what's going to be happening? What's happening in the world of Dakota Jones?
Yeah. So in January, we put out our first song in a while called Sugar Pie. But we have a lot more music that we're going to be releasing this year. And we're putting together shows in New York, but also planning to tour around as much as possible. Fingers crossed, we're going to be coming over to the UK sometime in the spring.
Amazing.
And I'll definitely keep you posted about that. But
Absolutely.
yeah, we're just sharing this new music. This new music is, for me, my favorite music that we've ever made, and feels the closest to me. Yeah, so I'm always just excited to start sharing again. Yeah.
And if people don't want to miss out on any of that and want to keep up to speed with releases, tour dates, etc., where's the best place to keep up to speed?
Yeah, so our Instagram is at Dakota Jones Band. Also, dakotajonesband.com has all of our shows, all of our, just everything that we're up to. I think Instagram is probably the best place to keep track of us. Yeah.
Well, if it's all right with you, when this episode comes out, we'll tag you in it. So for those that are yet to follow you, they can find you nice and easy.
Awesome. Thanks, Stu.
Tristan, I've had such a lovely time. It's been
Me
really
too.
nice chatting. And
yeah,
thank you for
you.
getting up so early to do this as well.
Yeah, of course. No, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. It's been really a pleasure.
I'm going to press stop. Don't go anywhere.